Eden Amadora, and this is Natalia Price Vales. Is that how you pronounce it? Vales, yes. So let us know if you're here by sending a little thumbs up or a heart or a message so we know we're not alone. Today we're going to talk about equanimity in these wild times, how to find it. Thank you. I need tech support. So we have been 13 Moon Priestess sisters together for, wow, I'm going on my 11th year in the mystery school.
How about 17
you?
years.
17, wow. So our fairy goddess mother is Ariel Spilsbury, and she began this journey in her youth. She began receiving transmission from beyond the veil, we'll say, from her inner knowing, her gnosis, and then ended up scribing and writing several books. One of them is the 13 Moon Oracle, the other is the Alchemy and the Ecstasy. She's also the author of the Mayan Oracle. And when I first found this work, I didn't really even know about many archetypes of the divine feminine. I think we're robbed of like a lot of powerful goddesses in the West. Maybe from yoga, I'd heard about, like Shakti, or I heard about Kali, but very, very subtly. It was a real entry into powerful feminine archetypes of the divine for me. I'm sure it was probably for you too.
For me, I really entered through Carl Jung and then through the tarot of those archetypes, the major arcana that kind of brought it in. But what I really found with the 13 Moon work was that it brought it into embodiment, and it brought it into us, that they live within us, as opposed to something out there
conceptual,
or on an altar, or on a pedestal, or something outside of ourselves.
Yeah, it has been a journey of embodiment. I guess I entered in my own path of like awakening through yoga and then through shamanic studies. And in shamanic traditions, Mother Goddess is honored and revered because the indigenous people know we're not disconnected from the divine. Like, we live with the elements on earth in the cycles of nature, and there's great reverence for the mother. All things come from the mother. It's kind of obvious. And so I think part of our work, I'll just speak from my heart, part of the work for me has been dispelling a lot of the myths of the patriarchy, the myths of separation, the myths of disconnection, the myths of being unworthy of love or not being whole and holy already because you're already a divine being. And I think that a lot of our work is about remembrance and unveiling rather than learning and achieving or becoming or improving.
Yes. And on so many levels beyond that thing outside is, how do we bring it in? How do we dive into the qualities, and especially the shadow work, or has us really take a look at the mirror and naming it? Because so much of how we live in this patriarchal world, we don't even realize that we're in it. It's just the air we breathe. That to see how all these ways don't work for us, how they don't function, and really calling it out and naming it to rob it of the power that it takes from all of us.
One of the things that feels important for me in this time we're in is how to bring some of these teachings out of the temples to the collective and offer some of the beauty and the richness of what we were so blessed to have in our training to more people. So it's a wonderful way to bridge with technology and to reach you. Today I wanted to talk about equanimity with Natalia, and how it's really challenging to find equanimity in this world of uncertainty and chaos and all the change shock we've been going through. So I know equanimity is, like, in our training, it's a aspect of the Priestess archetype and the sapphire blue work we do with water. Is there anything that you, just from your inner knowing, would transmit to people just about what that means for you to sit in equanimity?
Well, right now we are in the archetype of the wise woman in my 13 Moon circle here in Nevada City, and she is really about simplifying to resonate, to then find that equanimity and that place of true inner balance within ourselves, where it's so much about this piece of slowing down to listen, right? And to feel like, first of all, where am I out of balance? and what are the tools or the practices that I know to bring me back in to create harmony in my life. And not as something, once again, we're talking about embodiment, not something outside of ourselves or in this spiritual concept, but in our daily life and in our relationships, and most importantly, in our relationship with ourselves, right?
Yeah. What's a practice that you do daily or often that brings you back into that balance and that feeling of harmony?
For me, the most basic one that I can do in all moments, and even, in the midst of confrontation, is that breath. Mm-hmm. Of just coming back into the breath and taking my attention away from whatever the thing is and coming back in and following the breath, and taking it back into the body and what that does for our entire nervous system, and of just letting go of the bigger picture so you can come into a fresh perspective.
I use that too often, and sometimes a hand on the heart chakra and a hand on the womb or the hara for men who are listening, and just feeling my back. Like often we're so in our anxious, future-based, forward-leaning mode in this culture, especially in the East. People that practice martial arts, they're much more back body aware. They're much more aware of their sides and their back. So if you can imagine that instead of going into a reaction and trying to control what's happening, to lean back and surrender, and like Natalia says, breathe with the feelings. That's the inner alchemy right there, to bring us back to a sense of groundedness, alignment, and hopefully a little bit more heart-centered presence and less egoic, like fight and flight reactivity, where we're just gonna, say something we regret after, like the toothpaste squeezing out of the tube. So I noticed another thing about this really wonderful altar you've built here with the black and white checkerboard. It's a good symbol of looking beyond black and white, kind of dualistic polarity consciousness. When we speak about equanimity, we're speaking about sitting in the center point beyond all apparent opposites, that sacred third, that place where, often when we're in a reaction, when we're feeling judged or judging, when we're noticing all the division in the collective right now, especially in social media, you'll notice there's a lot of hot tempers. There's a lot of like righting and wronging and righteous shaming and policing going on. And how do we come back to seeing one another through eyes of unity and love, and recognizing we're all a human family and we need each other here? We need to find peaceful, powerful ways to communicate. When we're polarized in black and white thinking, it's very divisive. It's very extreme. When we start to come closer to the heart, we notice, oh, you're welcome to have your view, your belief, your perception. And I can be with, that's interesting, or I'm curious, or wow, I've never thought of it that way, without feeling this need to either control or attack or suppress what someone else is experiencing. So for me, equanimity is this incredible portal to more patience, curiosity, compassion, an ability to breathe with what's happening out there without feeling like I'm in danger. Like if your view is so different than mine, I have to fight for it, which I see going on a lot these days.
Really stepping through into that sacred third of all that is, that takes us into neutrality. And such a potent piece around that is that the difference between recognition and judgment, and how we hold them both on each side. But judgment really implies that something doesn't have the right to live outside how we say it is, in that very limited perspective. And often it's because it challenges our ego on some level, right? Or there's some wound that gets triggered, or else we wouldn't be that bothered by what others are doing. Right. That on some level there's a righteousness or superiority that we take on, that we know more, our view is better. And equanimity is just kind of seeing through the illusion, those smoking mirrors that opposite sides have, that our whole world is constantly feeding us. And we see it especially in our politics, where there's just these two sides. You can only choose, they're trying to feed us
this illusion.
And that we need to really rise above and be like, we're not playing that game. we're so much greater than this.
Right. So what if actually staying in the sacred third is like staying in the breath, staying in the body, staying in the feelings, like, oh, I'm feeling a little uncomfortable, but I'm not in danger of, my survival isn't at risk here. So can I breathe with this other person's energy, actions, view, whatever they're choosing, and just allow and accept? And ultimately, as we expand our capacity to be in equanimity, see through compassion and even unconditional love. This is our vow. I mean, as a modern day priestess, we take this vow to live in love, as love, for love. And it's no small thing. We're not talking about some fluffy romantic version of love. We're talking about unconditional love, which we didn't get the training book on here when we're born. We're born into systems and families where it's just a concept. So to walk in that prayer and that vow is to really practice coming back to the present moment, to the breath, to the heart, to the allowance of another being to be where they are in their perceptions, beliefs, stand, and to be kind of, I think of beings who are willing to feel and alchemize that egoic kind of reactivity. I think of us like the imaginal cells in the chrysalis right now, because we're all in the goop, we're all in the dark, we're all in the unknown, in the chaos and the mess of this time. And for those, rare beings that are like, I'm going to be an alchemist. I'm going to actually feel my own feelings and stay with it. These are the rare imaginal cells that I feel are needed for us to collectively awaken and evolve and not create chaos and war and pain because of differences. So this is my prayer, that more and more of us start to practice this inner alchemy, this willingness to breathe through discomfort and feel, and to recognize, like you're saying, with recognition, we're feeling our body and we're recognizing, oh, this is my material. If I'm irritated, if I'm agitated, nobody installed my buttons. This experience is just catalyzing me to feel my material.
Yes, especially that piece that you're speaking to of owning it. What can we own in any experience or any exchange or any way that we've been triggered or it appears to make somebody made us angry? What part did I play? How can I take responsibility in any small way? Really shifts the vibration around anything.
Yeah, and that kind of listening where instead of immediately protecting, defending, reacting, and attacking back, there's self-responsibility, there's accountability, there's a pause, there's, oh wow, I hear you're having this experience and feeling this way. There's mirroring.
Yes.
And this is rare. It's like Jedi practice because the ego wants to protect itself at all costs. It's been programmed, this reptilian brain, for fight and flight. And we're more than that. We are much more than that.
And I think this piece about, modern day priestessing, it's not about us just, being at the temple or ordaining some big ceremony. It's really that inner work that we do with ourselves of the shadow work and the light work and seeing, okay, where are my triggers? Who are the people that trigger me or my initiators? And how to get really real and present with yourself and doing that inner work. So that then we can really stand and be a light for others in that, or just that in our presence, we are so centered and equanimous that other people, as soon as they come into our presence or our vibration, they are calmed or they start to come into a more inner aligned place.
Yeah, this is the work. This is the benefit of the inner work. And I love that you're saying the light work and the shadow work. And there's an expression in our mystery school. It says the sun and its shadow complete the great work. So for those of us in the past, I could relate to this, who are more the dark side of the light chasers that didn't want to look at the shadow and feel what's in that uncomfortable material. There's a necessity now to come down into the lower chakras, to come down even below the feet, to really get here now and get optimally grounded and feel our humanity and feel our interconnectedness. And that's where the compassion really comes from, where it dawns from. And if you want to know more about our work, please visit both Natalia's page. We're going to tag Natalia, so it should go on your page too. And you can visit my my link in the bio on Instagram, and you can visit EdenAmadora.com to find out more about the Priestess programs. So much love to you all. Blessings.
Oh, thank you for having me here. This is fun.
We should do it again. All right, everybody, have a beautiful day. Remember, come back to your breath, come back to your heart. We're sending you so much love for your journey.
Blessed be.
Bye.